It's time for more Hawk Talk. Bootu boys. I'm Brian Vaughn. Spencer Hendricks is here too. He's another host of this podcast.
I'm here, and I'm a host.
Van Lee. Hey.
How's it going?
Going pretty good. We're talking about Street Hawk today. Oh yeah, we talk about TV shows on this podcast.
And I was thinking about
one of them, Street Hawk.
Paper Mario, because they had this.
Which one?
This wrestler bird, the 1,000-Year Door for GameCube, and the wrestler bird was named the Rock Hawk, and he was a bird. He was a hawk.
Did you smell what he was cooking?
He did. And he was kind of a play on like Macho Man and Ultimate Warrior and
Oh, so they just shoved them all into one.
the Rock Hawk.
Ooh, this is kind of a fun RPG. Uh-huh. That's the Macho Man character in Mario RPG.
So he's Mario in this sense.
Sure.
Okay.
Actually, I think if there were another live-action Mario movie, and Randy Macho Man Savage were still alive, he would do a fine job playing Mario.
Better than Chris Pratt.
I agree. And with that, I will say that we're covering Chinatown Memories, which is the 7th of the 14 Street Hawk episodes that exist.
Halfway there.
Yeah. It aired February 15th, 1985. That's right, one day after Valentine's Day. Do you think any couples were like psyched about this the following day? Like, we'll have a big dinner on Valentine's Day, but the real event, the real romantic event, Street Hawk episode premiere the following night.
I hope so, and if so, and they're still together, they could say, like, what's one of the secrets of a long-term relationship? Street Hawk.
A couple that hawks together stays together.
I mean, that has to be true of all the millions of people, billions in the world, but certainly in the U.S., where I'm sure this is most of its major market. Or it could be like Germany or something. They fell in love with Street Hawk, and now there's a big following there. I could see that. Either way, there's someone out there who has done exactly Brian's plan.
I hope so.
Someone has fucked while watching Street Hawk.
Well, and if we're talking about love, we're 2 episodes away from where we just ended off.
Yeah, 5
Yes.
to 7.
We are 2 episodes away from Street Hawk as Jesse taking Deborah out on a date. She's gone forever. We don't know. How do you think that date went?
I don't think it went well.
It must not have.
I think there's some stuff Jesse's been hiding about his views and stuff that we wouldn't like, that are unsavory. And off camera, he told Deborah some of that.
Well, he's a cop. And yeah, I think that is exactly what happened. They went to the date, and he started talking cop. And he was saying, cops are great. They do this stuff. And she's like, well, I understand. I'm trying to get better. I'm going on this date with you, but I have a really bad history with cops, so I'd appreciate not discussing cops like this. And he just kept going and going.
Another thought, too, is, she had kind of a bad relationship with Virgil. And sometimes bad relationships you can get in a habit of seeking out those toxic relationships. So it could be that she was actually more interested in Big Goon from that last episode, and she ended up with him instead of Street Hawk.
Fair enough.
She's kind of drawn more to the henchman profile rather than the police profile.
Well, as a pop diva, she doesn't think she could get the number 1. Got to go for the number 2.
She's into bad goons. Well, that date didn't go well. It couldn't have, because in this episode, an old girlfriend of Jesse's is here. She's back. She's British, and she's asking for help because her present-day boyfriend, fiancé, actually, he stole a sacred statue called the Ivory Emperor from the Chinese gang, the Tong.
Seems like a big deal.
And now he's in trouble. And also, Street Hawk's identity might be in trouble. So a lot's going on in this episode.
He's got to find the real Street Hawk within himself.
There's a lot of seeking going on in this particular Street Hawk episode. Just as I am seeking answers from us, hosts of the Bootu Boys, because I have listener corrections. That's right, a top secret listener heard our friends' episodes and noticed a glaring error. The listener is Van and me.
We're not very good.
No, well, it's okay though. Thing is, in the Friends episode, the one where everyone finds out, Van listed movies erroneously from 1995 instead of 1999 because the first episode we covered was from 95.
Yeah, I had pulled up IMDb to look up the dates because I wanted to get it right, and for whatever reason just made a mistake. Probably that reason being that both of our episodes were titled The One Where Somebody Finds Out, and I just got it mixed up, so my bad.
Easy mistake to make, but don't worry, I've got your back because I have the real movies that Phoebe, Monica, and Rachel might have gone to see in February of 1999.
The truly disappointing part about this is that powder is not on the table.
No, it's not. What is? Saving Private Ryan.
Okay.
The ultra-popular Steven Spielberg war movie. I saw it with my dad.
I
My
still
dad
have
was
never
emotional.
seen that movie.
Same thing. I've never seen it.
I don't want to.
I kind of want to, but not a lot.
I
don't
thought it
want
was
to.
great when I was 14.
Like, you're wrong.
The only answer is to not want to see it.
Tom Hanks is in it. Barry Pepper.
I'm sure it's a very... Is that his name?
Yeah,
The
Barry Pepper?
The
That guy's
actor
not
Barry
around
Pepper. He's in
anymore.
Oh,
it.
that's an actual person?
Yeah, Vin Diesel's
You
in
would
it.
know him if you saw him too. He's got big old buggy eyes, and he just doesn't act anymore.
You would
Huh.
see the guy and say, that guy has been the 4th leading character in 500 movies I've seen.
You go, that's
Okay.
Barry Pepper.
I'll be damned.
But yet he wasn't in that Salt movie with Angelina Jolie. He should have been, just for the stunt casting of it all. You could have also seen Patch Adams. That's where Robin Williams is a clown doctor, I
I did
think.
see that one.
Is it like kids are dying, so he's trying
Yeah.
to cheer them up? Is that it?
Part of it.
Okay.
There's some other plots that are a lot more serious than that that I don't really understand in my mind.
I've never seen it, so my knowledge is that he has a ball on his nose and is a doctor.
Uh-huh. Yeah, there's a darker subplot in that where something about the girl that he's sort of kind of interested in, and they have a little thing, gets murdered by someone. But I was
Wow.
14, so it was a long time ago.
Clown murdered.
I mean, not by a clown.
You don't know that. You
Oh,
said
I
it was
did.
14. You don't remember.
I
was
do
about
remember
to
if
say,
a clown murdered someone.
I was about to say, wow, I was 14 when I saw Saving Private
Why do
Ryan.
you know?
Realizing, oh yeah, all these movies came out at the same time.
That's kind of the whole thing.
Stepmom, that movie came out where a terminally ill woman must deal with her ex-husband's new lover. Julia Roberts, Susan Sarandon, and
Mhm.
Ed Harris.
Ed Harris is the hottie that they both
Yeah,
want.
fucking dreamboat, Ed Harris. Well, I do remember in the 90s, you ever like have a friend that's a girl, you go over to their house and they have posters of Ed Harris on the wall?
Katie has him in the bedroom right now.
Yeah, he's shirtless leaning against a truck. The Prince of Egypt, of course, the animated movie.
Oh, okay.
I did not know this. I've not seen it. All of these people do voices in The Prince of Egypt. Val Kilmer, Ray Fiennes, Michelle Pfeiffer, Sandra Bullock, Jeff Goldblum, Danny Glover, Patrick Stewart, Helen Mirren, Steve Martin, and Martin Short.
Holy cow. What was the budget of this
A
movie?
lot, I guess.
That's a Disney movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a
That
big
was
deal.
into the 90s. So we've had Lion King kind of bring Disney
Yeah.
back to the forefront. So I think they're just throwing money at celebrities to get the names to put on the posters.
Around now has to be when, like, the idea of voice acting was taken over by regular actors.
Correct.
Payback with Mel Gibson. I did see this.
He's a trucker.
He gets payback in it. That's the whole thing. I don't think I would go out of my way to see any Mel Gibson vehicles these days.
No.
though. In Dreams, a suburban housewife learns that she has a dream world connection to a serial murderer, and she must stop him from killing again. Stars Annette Bening and Robert Downey Jr. I've never heard of this,
Sounds pretty cool.
but I kind of want to see it.
Yeah, I'd watch that.
Oh, and Ants. Ants with a Z.
Uh-huh. You want to explain ants?
Got ants in it. But it's not A Bug's Life,
No.
which came out at the same time.
Ants is the Woody Allen one, right?
Yeah, I've been making jokes about ants for just forever, and finally, here is a real excuse to talk about Ants with a Z. I don't know anything about this movie. And at the same time, when I was a kid, 2 movies with animated bugs came out. One of them was called Ants, and they spelled it with a Z to appeal to me, presumably to the surge drinking audience.
Okay, so there's a whole story behind these 2 movies coming out at the same time. And what it was is, and I'm going to get names and going to get businesses wrong, but you get the gist of it.
You'll get the ants of it.
Disney will say started making ants. Okay, well then they had trouble with an executive, so they fired him.
Makes it sound like you have a business. Like, there aren't enough ants in the world. We need to start producing these things.
Make some more ants. That'll solve our problem. So then that fired producer, or maybe he was just hired by Pixar or whatever the other company is, came in and said, okay, I know Disney's working on this Ants movie. Let's fuck them over and make our own bug
Because
movie.
this is going to turn out really well. We need to get in on this.
So they released
Kids
A Bug's
love
Life
bugs.
first, despite ants having been created originally, or the idea came about originally, and it was just to fuck around with the other executives. That's the whole point of Ants versus A Bug's Life.
The bug wars of the late 1990s. American cinema will never be the same. So I've now listed all of these movies. Which one do you think the girls from Friends were going to go see?
They're not going to see Saving Private Ryan.
No, I don't think so.
I'm leaning towards the Annette Bening horror movie with the dreams, because it's kind of like, girls' night out. Let's go get scared a
I
little.
bet that's fun too. Plus, we've already established how hot Ed Harris was in the 90s.
correct.
So Stepmom, maybe. I think maybe Ants.
I don't think Ants is
no,
on the docket.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah, I'm going to eliminate that one as well. I think Patch Adams is a strong contender.
Okay, that's a good one, yeah.
I also think that in Dreams, the Annette Bening, Robert Downey Jr. Dream World movie it's possible they would see that.
I just don't think there's as clear-cut an answer as the 1995 movies with Powder.
Oh, yeah. We determined they definitely would see Powder, the movie about a man covered in chalk, I think.
Who saves deer, according to Spencer. What
yeah,
was it?
well, he doesn't save him. He just
he
makes
makes
the
it
hunter
die.
feel the pain.
That's it.
He lets the deer die peacefully. And the guy has to know what he did to that deer.
He just kills the deer, essentially.
I think he just lets him, mercy kills him because he's going to die anyway.
Does he just like chew through the deer?
No,
Powder?
it's all telepathically. He doesn't have to
Oh.
touch. Well, I think he just lays his hand on it and then touches the guy and he can transfer their energies, I think.
Why didn't he just hit the laser button on his motorcycle?
Well, he doesn't have Street Hawk yet.
What?
That's Powder 2.
Powder 2 : Street Hawk.
I wish that was a thing.
And it came out now. That'd be great 30 years after the fact. I guess we're done talking about movies from 1999.
Well, we haven't talked about what the guys would see, though. What would Joey and Ross see?
Payback with Mel Gibson.
it
Wow,
is,
you
right.
just had that right
Yeah.
away.
It
didn't you?
totally is, yeah. Chandler would see ants, I think.
Yeah, I could see
Okay.
that.
You
By
know what?
himself.
By
I think
himself,
Chandler's
yeah.
a big fan of Woody Allen,
Oh, yeah.
both his work and his personal accomplishments.
Oh, dear.
What I'm saying is Chandler sucks and is a creep. Actually, you know what? I don't think Chandler's a creep.
You think Ross is a creep?
I think Ross is a creep. And Ross, I think, is more than a creep. I think it's a bodies and oil drums
He's a killer.
situation. Yes. He could have been Robert Downey Jr.'s character in Dreams.
Yeah, it's too bad that David Schwimmer never tried to take on a role like that would put him in scary territory.
I think he would be legitimately unsettling. I'm not joking.
Like a guy that we have the focus of a woman who lives in an apartment, and her neighbor, just a couple apartments down, is David Schwimmer, and he never talks to anybody. He's kind of unsettling.
Mouth agape, of course. That's his
Yes.
trademark.
And then one night she wakes up and she's got like zip ties around her arms, and she's in that apartment, which is covered in tarps, and there's monkey fur everywhere.
I was just getting ready to say, I think this guy should also have a monkey. Actually, it just is called Ross. That's what this is. It's an
Oh.
A24 horror movie.
Oh man, I'm
Sounds
so
awesome.
on board with this.
Yeah,
Oh.
this is great.
Did you know that A24 is being allowed to film their movies during the strike because they have agreed to the SAG-AFTRA details
No, I did not.
of pay this much or whatever? So they've been given a pass. A24 can make their movies.
That means the actors that want to work have very few options. They have to do that.
A24.
And I think it might also be stuff already in production or something.
No,
It isn't?
no. It's
There-
freshly
Did
written
you see
stuff.
also that The Chosen, the former PureFlix series, was also given an exemption?
Really?
Yeah, and I think it's coming to like a more major streaming service as well. Yeah, but
That's
it was
the one we tried to watch.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Huh. Okay.
So that's interesting. It's about Jesus, like for real. I'm not saying that like I would say Street Hawk is about Jesus because it has an omnipresent motorcycle in it.
I wish it was Jesus riding Street Hawk.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Then we would know the writer was also invincible.
And if the Bible talked about Jesus as a street hawk type, I would be more interested in religion. honestly.
Vigilante Jesus.
And on the seventh day, God rode Street Hawk.
Bow.
Thank you, Van. That's actually how Chinatown Memories, this episode starts with a synth bow. You know the drill. Street Hawk's out there in some fog and things are wet and shiny. There's the cast. We see pictures of him. Street Hawk comes to life. We get to hear again how he came to be. But after that, it's time for a trip to Chinatown and maybe LA. I don't know.
Some questionable city.
Again, we don't really know, but they do have studio sets. So that's what I'm going to assume now.
In the intro sequence, I kind of realized that there are, I counted, I don't remember, like 5 or 6 somersaults.
Wow.
And the more I think about it, the more somersaults in an intro to a show, the better that show is. Walker, Texas Ranger has a lot of somersaults. There's a couple in Renegade.
You're making very cogent points. I think
I
you're
can't think
also,
of a single one in Friends.
I
No.
think this is another really good idea where Seinfeld had a ton of them, where I
Sure.
think that a network exec could take note and say, if I want my show to be a hit, maybe I throw, obviously, if your show's any good at all, you already have 2 or 3 in there, but
Right.
maybe I add 2 or 3 more.
Yeah, let's double our somersault
Right.
quota, and it'll be amazing.
It's just a guarantee, the cherry on top to an already good product.
This is a great mental exercise to imagine all of our shows and think
With
about this
somersaults.
intro being a
Somersaults.
Somersaults.
Walton's shitload of somersaults.
Oh my God, that's maybe the best. I was thinking of Alf doing a somersault too.
Maybe we're thinking about this wrong. Willie Tanner doing the somersaults.
That's not, he can't do that.
hateful
in
somersaults.
our first Alf episodes, I argued there was no way Willie Tanner could play hockey, and I will argue here there's no way he could do a somersault.
Not even one?
No.
Okay.
Not without like going to the hospital. In Chinatown, not the movie, directed by Roman Polanski, another fucking creep like Woody
my
Allen.
God.
Worse, though. I mean, just a monster. We see a man named Joe Ching, who is not the Joe Ching who went to Horace Mann Elementary School with me. It's a different one.
Oh, he actually went to high school with us as well.
Oh, yeah,
he didn't
did.
go away.
I never knew him
He
then.
kept being there. Joe
Yeah.
Ching.
It's so funny. Like any kid, I think of them only from the years when I would have any association with them, even
Right.
though like most of them I went to school with at the very least in elementary and then again in high school. But some of them I went to school with the whole way through, and I think of them only from a time when I had to deal with them.
Was the Joe Ching you guys went to school with also the son of some prominent Chinese
An important Chinese
person?
family.
He may have been.
And he was also doing regularly what this Joe Ching is doing, which is stealing priceless artifacts out of wooden chests. Essentially pulling a smaller wooden chest out of a larger wooden chest with a pillow inside of it. I actually like this box. It made me a horny little box boy.
You're also really in for the pulling something out of something else.
Yeah, it's
In
great.
both of these episodes.
Nifty trick. I, of course, was just throwing back to Silk Stockings, our other box-centric show we've covered in, I guess, in multiple ways.
Well, you have 120 episodes or whatever. You're going to talk about boxes a lot.
What sits atop this soft pillow but a little Chinese statue man? And that's the priceless artifact I mentioned, but it's not just that it's worth money. It also has magical, mystical powers, and everyone thinks so. Whether it be the most powerful families in China, the Chinese gangs of the Tong family, the United States government.
Okay, here's my question. They believe that this thing has spiritual powers.
Yes, it does.
Do you think they really believe that? Because I think there are points to be made either way that they understand the concept of power that it has, the symbolic nature of it. But also, several times in this episode, they're like, yeah, but whoever has it has magic.
Well, that's the thing about Street Hawk is it makes you kind of ask the difficult questions that you
Mhm.
might not be willing to confront yourself. Like, am I being superstitious? When I think of God, what do I think of? Do I think of a big man with a gray beard, or do I think of a cute little fat statue? Or do I think of nothing at all? Street Hawk. Multitudes it contains. I said that like Yoda.
Multitudes it contains.
Street Hawk. Yoda talking about Street Hawk.
Much power you have must be harnessed, Street Hawk.
His little ears are sticking out of the helmet.
Hyper turbo.
Yeah, he wouldn't be able to disguise himself as Street Hawk. They'd be like, that's Yoda. I can
Yeah,
just
he
tell
can't
that's
reach
Yoda.
the pedals
There
or
has
whatever.
never been a better reason for that side cart we talked about than for
Yeah.
Yoda to put stick Yoda in there. Also, dare I say, Street Hawk would have been renewed for 1 billion seasons if Yoda was a character in it. Doesn't make the show any less plausible. Oh yeah, there's somebody from the Dagobah system here. Fuck it. Poor Joe Ching, he's being chased around by suited men who don't want him to be stealing this powerful statue. They're running through alleyways and businesses of Chinatown, of whatever city this is, and I do appreciate the effort of the set building here.
Yeah, I agree.
It felt fun, like they're actually darting between blankets that are draped over things and merchants.
And it looks like it could have been filmed in a Chinatown
I was
area.
hoping that the rest of the episode would have that feel.
I did
I
too.
wanted that to be the setting because that first scene they shot here, I was feeling it. I was into it. I was like, cool, this is going to actually have that Chinatown feel to it.
I wanted that too because in the first episode we kind of do get that,
Yeah.
which is like we get a couple of music video sets, we get the Limelight Club, we get Artie practicing with a student. It does have a musical through line. This one does not as much have the Chinatown through line.
No, they kind of let it go, except for the scenes with the lady.
With Auntie Pearl, yes.
And this is, unsurprisingly, our second show that we've ever covered where we have like a Chinese person selling herbs.
Yeah, yes it is.
As
So
it was
he just
once
kind
said.
of knows everyone.
Ooh, what about Steven Seagal's Street Hawk
Yeah.
with Yoda as Norman?
Okay, I'm into this. Not present day with Seagal, but at the
Right.
time, yeah.
So anyway, I was jumping on my motorcycle and I was ripping around.
Oh, Street Hawk crashed. He fell asleep again. Steven Seagal would be way too big to ride Street Hawk, I think.
They would have to really reinforce that motorcycle.
We'd have to make Street Hog. As he's running through the alleys, trying to evade his potential captors, Joe runs into a woman he seems to know, an older woman, who he refers to as Auntie Pearl. And this woman says, "What's going on, Joe? I'll pull you behind this beaded curtain and ask you more questions." Joe says, I can't tell you what's happening because it could get you in trouble. Tell Lily I'll get in touch with her once the dust settles. So Lily, we already know that's another character. Pearl then curses these Tong hoodlums. The Tong are a group of Chinese gang families operating in whatever town this is. So we know Auntie Pearl is at odds with these people. She then gazes up at a photograph of Lily because without doing that, we would have no idea who this character is when she shows up later, despite being mentioned. I love corny stuff like that in shows like this where they beat you over the head with, we need to make sure they know who this character is.
Our audience is so stupid.
Yeah.
We gotta make sure they know. This one, by the way, in the credits said it was directed by Paul Stanley.
Oh, from Kiss?
Yeah, so that makes sense that there's a lot of like really bad rhythm guitar in this
and
episode.
cat makeup.
I'm sure it's a different Paul Stanley because it's a very common name, I would assume.
Yeah.
2 first names.
It is
but
funny, though.
I do like that it'd be on Kiss and directing Street Hawk.
Things are about to take a turn. We're not in Chinatown anymore. We're at maybe our primary setting, the beach. Jesse's doing some of his early audition work for Baywatch, I think. He's running on the beach shirtless, and this is where we find out the only physical reason you could consider this guy a street hawk. He is pretty ripped.
You wouldn't have guessed it in that first episode, I didn't think.
No, it's harder to tell because, again, he has a normal guy floofy 80s haircut.
And just poofy outfits. Whereas in this, he's in tight little swim
He's
trunks.
in nothing at all, basically. Jesse finally gets home from his beach run. He's covered in sand and sweat. And he's cursing Norman as he walks in the door because he thinks Norman's the guy that's there. He can sense someone's there. He says, Norman, whatever, I'm just a little bit late, but it's the woman from the photo 35 seconds ago. It's Lily.
So she just let herself in?
Yeah.
Okay, if Gail showed up one day sitting on my couch.
Well, you'd look just like Jesse does here.
That's true. I'd be cursing Norman, and then I would realize it was not Norman in the house with
Come
me.
in from your shirtless run at the beach, like
Which
you
I
do every
often.
day.
Mhm.
Jesse reveals here Norman and Lily are the only 2 people with keys. And that's why he thought this was Norman. So he has given a key to Lily.
That's weird. She doesn't need a key, I wouldn't think.
Because Lily is, in fact, as we've intimated, Jesse's ex. And she's British, maybe. Who knows? She's got some sort of accent.
Well, apparently the actress lived in Canada for a while, did live in England, so I guess it's kind of a legit accent, but I don't know.
I thought it was probably legitimate. I
It
just
seemed
didn't,
real to me.
Didn't know exactly what it was.
I'll tell you what it is, and it feels like a British accent who was in America for too long, so the accent disappeared, and now they're trying to push back into English accent.
Into full Brit territory. Well, you know what else is really British is Mamma Mia, the cooking of the sauces, because Lily starts talking to Jesse about his sauce, because Jesse has a loose sauce that he had just had out while he was doing his beach run.
Mm-hmm.
And Lily says, I tasted. I was eating your food while you were gone. And it doesn't have enough oregano.
Yeah, they make it seem like Lily's some sort of urchin
I
scavenger.
know.
Like she's got the key so she can come in and eat all his food while he's gone.
She's got like pockets full of like chip bags and stuff she's stolen.
I know we broke up romantically, but not in terms of refrigerator raider. Lily and Jesse decide the best thing to do is to go walk on the beach some more, because Jesse just hasn't had enough.
Yeah, here she is in her skirt and long sleeves. Let's go on the beach.
It'll not be too hot at all. So in the twilight sand, we get the first of many really clumsy exposition dumps, just dumped all over that sand, in fact. We find out, yeah, these 2 dated. Lily just couldn't bear how good of a cop Jesse was, because he was always too much in the line of danger. And after the big Street Hawk accident, the one that leads to Jesse becoming Street Hawk, rather, that's when Lily walked away. She just couldn't take it. She couldn't stand to lose him, so she sort of lost him preemptively.
He says, I thought police work was the most important thing in the world, explaining
Right.
like he's stuck with the police job instead of leaving for her or whatever. And I just wanted him to be like, but then I heard about Street Hawk.
Oh, shit.
And then
Oh,
realizes,
wasn't supposed to say that. Oh, that could mean anything, though. She'll probably think I was just talking about, like, a kind of what was popular in the 80s. Microwave. Street Hawk.
Street Hawk microwave.
This is the microwave you can ride.
It'll burn your vole up good.
Fastest microwave yet. After a little chit-chat, a little catching up, Jesse caresses her face, and he says, Lily, what do you want? Do you want me as a cop? Or as a pal? Or as an ex-boyfriend? Which is a weird...
I didn't get what that means.
I
Does that
didn't-
mean like let's fuck and just be fuck buddies?
Or like, let's have general vague animosity toward one another. I didn't know what that meant
yeah,
either.
she came and let herself in his place so she could be angry at him for being an ex.
Lily says, well, it's sort of all of these things because my friend, Joe Ching, he's in trouble with the Tong. The Tong, of course, are very powerful, and Jesse knows this right away.
He's like, I can get pizza rolls with them, maybe a chicken right out of the oven. Tongs are great for that.
It's like extended finger. Tong, the ultimate fingers.
Oh, hold on. Snakes are the ultimate tube.
Mm-hmm. I don't
Tongs
remember
are the
next
extended
one.
finger.
There was another one.
There are some of these good ones here. You got to write your book.
I know. Toilet Wisdom or whatever it's called. Whatever I
that's
decided
a
it was
perfect
called.
title.
Even Jesse in this scene, by the way, the biggest cop guy, he's probably got 9 bumper stickers that say "Back the Blue." Even Jesse says, "I don't think the cops can deal with the Tong. They could deal with anybody that works at the record company, but the Tong, that's a whole other matter." Jesse accepts the offer. He says, "You know what? I've thought about it, and because I still have boners for you, I will find Joe Ching. I will do whatever you need me to do." Lily says, "Thank you," and leaves right away. I found this so funny. They've had this heartfelt conversation, and once nobody's supposed to know that. Once Jesse agrees to help Lily, right away Lily turns and goes home.
Maybe we don't know it, but that was also a consternation in their relationship, is that she's too blunt. She, is very punctual, so she gets what she wants and she leaves.
Yeah, she doesn't understand.
No passion.
She doesn't give Jesse the emotional padding he needs in a conversation.
She just won't play the game.
I think
and when you don't play the Game of Thrones, you die, Spencer.
She's figured out there's no reason to go back to the apartment because the sauce is bad. It needs more oregano.
Fair.
Maybe come back in a year, break in, and check the next batch. Maybe it's good then, and she'll want to be with him.
Just once, I want them to use like a different spice. They go with oregano anytime it's pasta sauce because
there's really not much else you can put in like some kind of spaghetti sauce.
But I just want to be like, there's not much star anise in there.
I wonder if oregano was a controversial thing to say in 1985 as an additive to food.
There's a Simpsons gag where Marge is looking at something and she sees a spice rack and it has space for like 7. She says, 7 spices? Who could have even guessed? Because it's making fun of just suburban white mom with salt, oregano, pepper, and that's it.
And not understanding that there are even other spices to try.
Like star anise.
Of course, which I don't
You're really
know what
pushing that. That's what makes things taste
Indian,
are they
right?
It's like a black licorice.
Are we sponsored by that?
Well, you're
I
giving up the ghost, Brian, but our newest sponsor is star anise.
Just as a product in general.
The spice itself.
No particular company, just the product.
Don't you guys wish you ever got invited to a meeting of the most important Chinese gang families?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, some people have been invited to that because it's going on. There's a Tong meeting. We see representatives from all of the major Tong fams. They're all in here to talk about their evil plans and how they need to restore peace and prosperity to their ventures. But to do it, they're going to need their special idol back that got stolen. Mr. Chen, who's kind of I would say the most evil of the evil gang guys,
and
of the
does
family
not,
leaders.
Despite his name, look like Jay Leno.
Not at all, no. In fact, he's Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
Presumably. I actually did not check where the actor's from.
That's actually the thing about this show is they're all called Chinese, and particularly the guy who plays Joe is James Saito, who is Japanese. Saito is a Japanese surname. So it's a lot of just like Asian people they just said were Chinese.
Which we saw that in 21 Jump Street, I believe, as well.
You see it all over the place. But maybe not now. People are understanding that them Asians is different from
but a
one
lot
another.
more in the 80s.
Yeah, they didn't care. It was just Asian, and they just whatever we said it would be. Oh, that James Saito guy played the Shredder in the 1990s Ninja Turtles movie.
Oh, that's cool.
He was Shredder.
So I have known him all along, even before I hawked. You know how Mr. Chen, he's really the most evil of the gang people? He's not even worried about stealing the statue back for the love of the game. He says that could fetch me $500,000 if I got that statue on the black statue market.
The black statue.
That doesn't seem like enough for how valuable they're acting like this thing is.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, and this old guy interrupts him, to your point, sort of. And he's like, who cares about that? It has absolute power. And starts just pounding the table. And Mr. Chen's like, convince me. Okay, I'll help find it. Mr. Chen then meets with his cronies because every episode of Street Hawk has one main bad guy that meets with a couple of henchmen.
And then those henchmen just go do stuff, report back, and then things change.
And then the main guy has to deal with Street Hawk at some point. But these henchmen are the people we saw chasing Joe Ching around Chinatown earlier. Chen says those old dudes are superstitious. I don't care about them. but we have the jump on finding the statue first. Again, to me, implying he wants to sell it. He doesn't care about restoring peace and prosperity to the Tong. First time, we're going to Metropolitan Police Department. Rachel is again bringing Jesse a file folder on someone that he probably shouldn't be getting, which is poor Joe Ching. And he's clean as a whistle, a real good guy, just like Lily said. Were you guys expecting Joe to be a bad guy at all? Like
No.
any kind of...
No, he seems really innocent.
They set it up at the beginning, even though he's stealing something. Like once he talks to Auntie Pearl, you're like, this older woman's not going to be in on some bad scheme.
No way. He's just in over his head.
Yeah, poor Joe.
Well, after Rachel hands Jesse the file, Jesse says, Rachel, have you been reading my files again? As the two discuss all of the details in the file. Yes, of course she's been reading your file.
They're really fast and loose with all these police files in the 80s.
Well, ask your dad.
Yeah, well,
if he weren't,
can't do that. I could ask my mom. She would know. Yeah, she worked there. She was a secretary.
It's like, I've got a couple of the files. You could just take those out.
Them. These aren't some of the big murder cases from around the time you were born.
I've got one for Street Hawk.
Rachel and Jesse are having a little conversation. I wonder if they ever get together. I bet you they do, or they would have.
They were saving that for season 2.
I bet so.
What
that
if
would have been like the season finale of season 2.
She gets together with Lieutenant Colonel
Altabelli, Leo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a really hot sex scenes.
Yeah, he's letting it all hang out. He might if he's like he is right here, because speak of the devil, Leo walks up happy, and he's never happy.
Skipping
he even
a step.
says, have fun, kids, before he walks away. But Rachel tells Jesse why it is Leo's so excited.
Okay, what's the punchline?
The punchline is he went to see a psychic.
Oh, come on, he doesn't believe in psychics.
Yeah, well, he believes in this one. She told him that by the next full moon, Street Hawk was going to be history, and I think it's put about 10 years on his life.
Uh-oh. That's not good news for Jesse. He's Street Hawk.
I'm puzzled as to whether or not everyone knows who or what Street Hawk is. They understand there's this vigilante motorcycle
half man,
guy.
half machine, undefeatable.
Like the public
just like Cynthia
knows
Rothrock.
Because the psychic brings it up, or was Joe Montebello, was he there at the psychic complaining, muttering to himself about Street Hawk, and she picked up on it and was like, ooh.
Listen, lady, read my palm lines and tell me what to do about Street Hawk. Jesse knows what he needs to do now.
Street Hawk.
Not yet. Man, calm down.
Need more Street Hawk.
No, we need more exposition. That is why Jesse goes to Auntie Pearl to talk about Lily. Because, of course, you know Lily, you know Auntie Pearl. All these people are interconnected and apparently always have been in the world of Street Hawk. There's a whole lot of debate about coffee and tea and who should be drinking what and why Pearl doesn't anymore and what Americans make her drink. I don't know. Pearl says, I moved to America from China so I could do 2 things. Chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
I'm all out of ass.
And she climbs aboard Street Hawk, and off into the night she goes.
I want to hear someone use that line for they like gum, and that's what they're doing now.
Yeah.
I'm all out of ass. I
They
just got to
ought
chew
to.
gum now.
A gum company should do a commercial of that.
You know what? My favorite part of eating food is the chewing. So give me some gum.
Yeah, there's no payoff whatsoever. It's all journey.
Maybe it's because I have the broken jaw thing, so gum has never been interesting to me. But I don't know. I don't
You could
get
just
gum.
swallow it whole, just as good.
Take a couple bites and
It's
swallow
good
it.
for you. No, what Auntie Pearl really is into are the 2 things are being near Lily and drinking bad tea. That's what she says. And Auntie Pearl steeps some exposition. You know,
Good job.
Thank you. She says Lily was born in England but raised in China, and now she lives in the U.S., and the only home she's ever known is inside your heart, Jesse. So that's quite a few places she's lived. One of them, metaphorical.
China.
Yeah. Is that real? Do we know?
I don't think it's real.
We can't prove it. None
I've
of
never
us
been
can.
there. Yeah. Come at me with your bullshit conspiracy theories about China. People are like, what?
Ooh,
That
biggest nation.
yeah, they're taking over the world? That kind of... No, that they exist.
If you're from China, leave us a 5-star review.
We'll
Prove
get a
your-
tattoo of you.
Prove it's real.
Pearl helps Joe Ching's case with Jesse. Yet again, the file said it, so does Pearl. He's a good guy. He's not part of the Tongs. His relationship with Lily, though, that is a bit more complicated. But let me fly into a blind rage screaming about the Tongs and how they think that they're more than mere gangsters just because they dress nice.
I like the understated love triangle in this episode
Yeah.
where they don't really get into it, but it's there.
Also, they drop 1/3 of the love triangle from the
It
equation.
is fascinating how everyone handles it here.
It's bizarre.
it's going to unfold in front of us in a way that no other show would do it. I will say that. Pearl then reveals, actually, not only are they more than friends, Joe Ching and Lily are engaged to be married. And then she says a half-truth is a lie, which is her big mic drop catchphrase for the episode. Pearl worries Jesse's not going to help, now that it might not mean sex with his ex.
And that's a reasonable thing to worry about with Jesse.
But Jesse smiles warmly and says, how about some coffee? Which really makes Pearl's day. And then we zoom back into that photo of Lily so we don't forget who she is.
I did forget, so that was good for me.
You know who's up next? Lily. She's carrying a brown grocery bag, one bag, when all of a sudden, Joe Ching drives up in his big 80s car, which I bet you this car was supposed to be nice, but it looks like shit. All 80s cars look like shit.
Both of this episode and the last one, where it's supposed to be these wealthy people driving, I don't know, Bentleys or whatever fancy cars, but they're those boxy but still bubbly, large vehicles that just look horrible.
It's like their sports cars in the 80s looked like station wagons. Joe says, get into the car, Lily. This is urgent. We need to go talk near some ocean pillars. It's important that we do it there.
Most of the talks in this episode occur near the ocean.
Right.
Now that I think about it.
I guess it's noisy. People can't hear you as easily because of the waves.
The seagulls can hear. They hear everything.
I know, and they have very loose beaks.
You know what else? Bird.
Oh, shit. I mean, hawk even. There's Seahawks, right?
Sure.
Wait.
They
It
hear.
never clicked.
Yeah.
I guess those are real things.
They must be. There's a football named after them.
Huh.
Joe's angry that Lily talked to Jesse because Joe, he's a lot like Deborah Shane from our last episode. He doesn't trust police, and he doesn't trust anyone because of how powerful the Tong are. Like, the cops could be on their payroll.
Well, and you can't always trust the Tong because sometimes like they get unaligned and they can't grip right.
Oh, the hinge gets loose.
Mhm. Or maybe they have that like silicone thing at the end, which sometimes is great, other times doesn't grip well.
Or they
Can't trust the
crack
Tong.
if they're those plastic like
See, it could have
tongs at a
been
party in a buffet.
could have been metaphorical until this last part here. When you went into that part, the silicone. It doesn't work anymore.
You don't know that. Maybe there are people with silicone tips.
What'd you just say?
Tips, Brian.
Silicone
Huh. Wonder what that would look like.
tits.
Yeah. Get 3 or 4 of them on there.
Get
You can
3
tell,
or 4
you
of
can
them
always
on
tell
there.
the tongs with their tits. They're
Yeah.
silicone tits.
One thing about the Tong gang and Tongs the utensil, lots of boobs. Joe professes his love for Lily, and she demands answers. What are you even doing? Why are you in trouble? Well, he has to now reveal he kind of stole the most powerful thing in the world, the Ivory Emperor. Uh-oh. What had happened is, Qin initially stole it from China, from their homeland. All Joe's doing is stealing it back to return it, because it's kind of already caused infighting amongst the Tong. The way Joe sees it, he's saving lives, because the gang members are going to war over this thing.
Joe's got a good point.
Joe does say, though, because I've done this, we're going to both need to leave the country, which is a big thing to ask of someone, I would think.
Out of the blue, you didn't discuss this first?
Yeah, before stealing the statue out of that box within a box.
I also don't think Lily is ever very clear in returning Joe's affections on
No.
screen anyway. Like, he'll say something to her and she just kind of ducks the issue.
The first time I watched this, I thought I had heard the word fiance, but wasn't sure because of how she acts towards Joe. I don't know. Just like the last one with Virgil and Deborah, they're just in a loveless relationship.
It's a very business-like relationship, it seems. Like, they get along, unlike Deborah and Virgil, but it's very like, where's the spark, man? And you would know they were in love if they got a synth montage on the beach. It's the 80s. Joe says, I gotta go do hideout stuff, or I don't know. He gives Lily the number where he's staying, and then they both realize the Tong are gonna get him. Lily gets back home with her brown grocery bag several hours later, after having gone to the ocean. I hope nothing perishable is in that bag. The whole time I was like, man, what if she got food that was good and it spoiled already? Because Joe drug her out to say, hey, we're moving to China.
She's like, but my hot pockets are going to go bad.
They're already tipped pockets.
I bet she just got stuff to make her own sauce since Jesse's was so
Yeah.
terrible.
Some oregano.
I bet she got a fucking gallon of oregano to just dump in there.
Mamma mia.
When Lily gets home, Chin's guys, his goons, they're already there. And they drag her off yelling. She's already been apprehended, but thankfully, Jesse, and I said Jesse, not Street Hawk, he drives up at the right moment. He runs up, he kicks one of them right in the fucking throat, and he scares them enough that they just leave Lily. They're like, well, I guess we'll just go deal with our boss, because whoever this nice-looking police officer is really powerful.
I do like that he kicks one and pulls the gun out in the other. Why not just start with the gun and save yourself the physical energy?
I guess maybe it's more intimidating to do it that way.
Yeah,
like, this guy wasn't afraid at all.
I can kick you. I can do it with my body, and I've got a gun. And I'm Street Hawk.
Hold on, I'll save that for later.
Norman,
The prestige.
can you prove I'm Street Hawk for these guys?
Oh shit, there's really no way to do it without the bike, is there? We go back to Jesse's apartment where we last saw him being Sandy, and Lily is icing his hand from all the punching that he has done. You would think he's used to this.
It was right here that Street Hawk lost me. The sense of realism is gone because he punched with his left hand the guy, and then he's icing his right hand.
I didn't notice.
May I say this, though? It's just Jesse that has this continuity error, not Street Hawk.
Okay, I'm on board. I'm back. You brought me back. Street Hawk, he wouldn't need to ice his hand in the first place.
Well, no, and that's the thing. Jesse's used to getting in fights as Street Hawk, where you're invincible and you're on a motorcycle and you can hit a button. But you can't do that as Jesse. You can barely do anything. Jesse starts to tell Lily about seeing Auntie Pearl, and you can see on her face, uh-oh, because yes, he reveals, I know about your engagement to Joe. Lily says the lie began because, well, I didn't think you'd help if you couldn't get into my pants.
Because you're very much an awful person, I guess. I don't know, he helps everyone.
That is the implication to me. But she realized along the way she still had feelings for Jesse, and Jesse cuts her off and says, don't. And he redirects the conversation to the valuable goods, the stolen idol.
I love this thing that's in so many shows and movies where someone's trying to say something really important and the person just doesn't want to hear it.
No.
I don't want to do that.
And it's clear there's no way to get out of it eventually being said. Just do it now. Rip the Band-Aid off. But instead of talking about their buried love, Lily explains the Ivory Emperor and says the Tong think it's like the most powerful thing. It's like people think of the Bible, an instructive manual, essentially. Lily gets frustrated about all of Jesse's questions because Jesse's busy hounding her. Where is Joe? And he should be. He needs to protect Joe. That's the whole point of this. But Lily won't say where he is. Jesse leaves for work and says, hey, whatever you do, don't answer the door.
Because, these powerful crime families, when they see a door, they're going to be like, well, we can't do anything about this person.
You can't break it down.
Maybe they're vampires.
They have to be invited in.
Yeah, they can't get in there unless she says come in.
In that
It's part
case,
of the Tong lore.
You just put more garlic in the sauce that they're making in there. It's fine.
Makes sense.
Before you shoot me, have a taste. It's my mom's recipe.
I like the idea of the vampire also being like, needs more oregano.
Needs some more oregano. It's the count.
Count.
Apparently. When I said Jesse had to go to work, I mean the Street Hawk job, not the police job, because we cut to Jesse asking Norman, can you be a creep and trace any of the calls that go to my apartment? And Norman says, no, this has something to do with a woman. I know it.
He knew right away.
I do like how Norman's always calling Jesse on his shit.
Definitely. That's one of the best parts about this is how much Jesse is not really supposed to be perfect at all.
No.
This, like he's supposed to be pretty flawed.
But
like
he also
that.
does do the thing where Norman will tell him no, and Jesse's like, come on, please. Like, he's nice about it, but he will back off if necessary. He doesn't have hero syndrome where it's my word and that's it. It's
Though
the
he
law.
does often do the thing he's not supposed to do.
True.
We've seen that
He
with
goes
all the shows
rogue.
like this, with Magnum P.I. and with Knight Rider, where the guy overrides his command.
That's what
essentially.
alpha guys do when you're real macho and tough. You got to prove how tough you are by going against someone's orders.
It's just like Judas Priest said, you got to be breaking the law.
I bet Higgins and Norman would be the best of friends.
Oh, yeah.
Norman, I look like a little Hitler.
What proper thing do you like?
Jazz.
Me too. I'm disgusted by this newfangled, just came about in the 1980s rock and roll music. Have you heard of this Elvis Presley? Gyrating in front of these teens with his death metal. Jesse starts to tell Norman, no, this isn't a creep thing because I'm stalking a woman. But Norman interrupts him and asks the question we've all been wondering.
What is this? We've got new boyfriends, old girlfriends. What does this have to do with Street Hawk?
He's got to say.
What does this have to do with Street Hawk?
Good question.
Jesse.
More Street Hawk.
Get it together, Jesse. Jesse says, okay, well, here's the thing. It's not just about my ex-girlfriend. There's a sacred statue, too. There's also an impending gang war between the different Tong families. Norman says, oh, okay, well, I said no personal cases, but why didn't you just lead out with all that stuff? He doesn't really say that, but I feel like he should have. Like, you do have a real cause here. Just start with that.
Jesse says, when he's trying to explain it, well, I have an old girlfriend. And Norman interrupts him and says, do you mean you have an older girlfriend or an elderly girlfriend?
I like that.
And it tickled me.
It feels kind of out of the show's tone a little, but it's a fun joke. Norman asks the name of Jesse's love interest. And here's something. Turns out her name's really Lele because she lived in China as a child and not Lily. It means lotus blossom, but people call her Lily, including Auntie Pearl. I found that funny. So much story dump in this thing.
You would think if she were born in China, where she was named Lele or whatever, that then she would have more of a Chinese accent than a British one.
Well, it's dumber than that. She was born in England and named Lele there, and then moved to China and was raised there. So you're right
As
about
Lily.
the accent, but why is she named Lele?
I loved her in Wicker Man, Lele Sobieski.
Oh, yeah,
It's great.
fantastic. Somehow didn't age. Eventually, through Norman's computer, they find out Zhou Qing is a good guy, and the Chin Tong, that group, they're not good guys. They're actually gang members, as we suspected. The phone back at Jesse's apartment, the one that Norman bugged, it gets a ping. And just then, we see Lily pick up the receiver at Jesse's with a slip of paper in hand. What's she up to?
Let's go ahead and take a break here so we can all go check out our ivory idols.
Jesse goes to talk to Zhou Qing, which is what he's needed to do both for professional and personal reasons this whole time. He gets there and goes ahead and busts down his door right off the fucking hinges, which seems a little much. But I guess not, because Joe fled. The window's open, the music gets dramatic, and Jesse has to do another chase, this one down a fire escape. Again, not as Street Hawk. He just has to do this stuff as Jesse. There's a little foot chase. No motorcycles ever show up. Jesse wins immediately and tackles Joe. They make a point for us to see how much faster Jesse is.
In my old age, witnessed this chase and tackle onto the concrete, and the first thing I thought of was like, that has to hurt.
Oh, I bet that felt like shit.
Not fun for the actors.
I thought something too, which is there's no way if I'm Joe that I'm even getting that far. If somebody breaks down my door just immediately, because he knocked and then 2 seconds later busts in, I'm not getting away that quick, so it wouldn't even become a chase for me, is what I was thinking.
You got me.
Yeah.
No concrete tackles.
I also don't have a fire escape to run down, so that's a problem.
Well, this sounds like your building isn't within code.
From what I've seen, fire escapes, you live there, you're going to have to be chased.
Exactly. That's why they're there, I think, is so that, okay, if someone bursts in, that's my escape.
What about a dumb waiter? You have
That's
one of those?
rude. A lot of my wait staff that I've had over the years, they've
smart.
been great people, very intelligent. No, I think that'd be cool. That's essentially like a food elevator.
I think you'd be better off hiding in one of those, though, rather than escaping in it.
I think you'd be better off eating from one of them.
No, I'd hide. I think that's what they originally made.
Hide and eat. There's like a bag of chips in there, maybe a burger.
Nothing like a good
Best
hide
thing-
and eat.
It's the best thing to do when you're eating. Go where no one can find you.
Mm-hmm. Now that Jesse's won the boyfriend battle for Lily, he has Joe down in the mount position. And they both start talking about how they care a lot about Lily and that the Tong are a big problem and they want the power statue.
If this was a van story, it would Joe and Jesse would discover that they had feelings for each other
Well,
too, right here.
we're only a couple of months from writing our own creepypastas again. So
Just
Van,
brought that up.
yeah, take note. Everything changes for Joe now. All of a sudden he trusts Jesse because he can see Jesse cares for Lily, perhaps in ways I don't want him to. He says, well, I sent Lily, my fiance, into Chinatown to go get the statue. That seems pretty safe, right?
The whole time, the point of Jesse was like, well, she's in danger.
Yeah.
And Joe goes, but why would she be in danger? All I did was send her into Chinatown with the idol.
Jesse realizes this is dumb and really dangerous. Joe's so naive, despite being wrapped up in all this. But Jesse tells Joe, I think Lily's right. The cops can't do shit. Really only one answer. Street Hawk bursts forth once more from his mural. He's zooming around, and we go right to Chinatown, where we see Lily has the statue already. Okay. She's roaming around with it out in the open, not covered. The box where anyone could see and get it from her. To my point, a mysterious car rolls up beside Lily. She gets scared. But it's not a problem because Street Hawk just ramps up over a big old garbage mound and lands right in front of the car, blocking Lily from it. It's pretty cool.
You need to have ramps and piles of things that you can leap over
Yeah.
Otherwise, Street Hawk's just not going to have a good time.
Ramps, scrap metal, piles, fog, grease, wet, chains. Those are 80s things. Just like 80s goons.
Last episode, he leapt over that Neil guy. It was like a Free Willy scene, but with Street Hawk.
And he shot at a barrow with a pile of wood in it.
I bet he gets really hot in that outfit.
It has to be.
Because it's during the day and he's in all black on Street Hawk.
It might have AC inside of it. Norman's really good at engineering stuff. Street Hawk, now that he's got Lily safe behind him, he hits the C6 button on the motorcycle, and what that does is, I'm not really sure. I couldn't figure it out, but he does hit a button. Norman, all of a sudden, realizes, what's going on here? There's another car on the scene, the car that's attacking Lily. This car, it's not actually a Tong car. It's the United States government. Why was the U.S. government trying to get the statue from Lily? Well, Street Hawk doesn't give a shit about who belongs to what, whose car is whose, and he machine gun buttons one of the cars straight into the trash heap, and then he lasers at another one. These are federal agents, and I don't know, some of these guys might be dead.
That's his real go-to. He sees a car, and he says, I'm going to machine gun the front of the car.
Maybe it was an accident. He was like, oh, shit, I was trying to hit the mystery button.
Maybe a cake will come out.
All the lasers and stuff buy time, though, and Lily and Joe are able to escape from the federal agents with the statue. Street Hawk also escapes because he does another big ramp blast thing over their cars and then rides away. This might have been the most action-y Street Hawk actually gets.
Probably.
Back at the Street Hawk lair, everyone is searching for answers. Norman has them. He says those U.S. federal agents were investigating Asian gang activity, and all they wanted was to intercept the Ivory Emperor. Norman says the U.S. government, they must also think the statue is super powerful. Why else would they be trying to get this thing? But it turns out the government wants to return it to China because the U.S. government always wants to do the thing that's right.
Yeah, especially to a place like
For
China.
yeah.
Come on.
USA. Hey, this was made in Reagan's America.
I guess it
So
was.
it's probably super jingoistic.
Ooh, I'd like to get the idol for myself, Nancy.
That would have been a great subplot. That's why the agents are there, to steal it because the president wants it for himself.
The final bit of the episode after the in credits trailers, like from Marvel, except then it's Reagan holding the idol up and like smiling and nodding. Beautiful.
Mr. Chin, bring me the Ivory Emperor.
Ooh, I could go for some jelly beans
I love how that keeps coming up.
every time.
Just drops it and lets it break.
Or it's full of jelly beans. That's why he wanted
He
it.
stores jelly beans in the Emperor, yes.
Norman is trying to get Jesse to realize that his hot head was a problem here. It's going to get them in trouble with other branches of the federal government. Because you have several, the CIA or whatever, the FBI, the Street Hawk team. So, like, they all need to be cooperating. Jesse, though, he doesn't take it that way. He whines and says, the feds should have been watching out for Street Hawk. Norman reiterates, no, they had jurisdiction. We are but two men and one motorcycle operating underground, presumably.
To be honest, they're mostly a motorcycle. That's the highest percentage of Street Hawk is just the motorcycle.
I mentioned that Rex Smith came across as a bit of a blowhard at times in the documentary about this from the 2010 DVD release. Well, he did say one thing I found really funny, which I think you saw toward the beginning of it, Van, which is where Rex Smith says, a motorcycle is the most exciting way to get from A to B.
Yeah, he did.
He's not wrong, probably.
I like to think that that's like been one of his inspirational phrases throughout his whole
Yeah.
life. He repeats that to anyone he meets. It's like, well, you know, motorcycle's the most exciting way to get from point A to point B.
And then immediately that's followed by, you're hired.
And then
Unsurprisingly, because this is kind of the real theme of this episode, Jesse and Norman are able to patch things up and make things work. They decide, maybe this didn't work out. Who knows who's right or wrong? We know the bottom line, which is we need to get the statue. We need to be in control here.
this is another spot that I really like because Norman said something like, it's my fault. I'm sorry I didn't investigate, blah, blah, blah. I should have known. And Jesse says something very nice, like, it's not your fault, Norman.
And
I'm just annoyed.
Jesse also sort of apologizes. Like,
Yes.
you both kind of come to an understanding, oh, this is just a weird situation where you're trying to get the Ivory Emperor back and save your ex-girlfriend, but the federal government's there, but you think it's 5 groups of Chinese families who run the Tong gang assembly in the United States.
We're emotionally charged. We'll come down from this. It'll be okay.
Real coming-of-age moment.
And Jesse says, sometimes this is a lousy way to make a living, meaning Street Hawk. So my question is he pulling double salary? Like he's paid as a cop with Metropolitan Police?
Must be.
One of the
then paid as
benefits for
Street
being
Hawk?
Street Hawk, like, is the health insurance better be good.
Well, you get that surgery
Got
to
the
fix
new leg.
everything.
Do you get PTO?
He did say, I think later in the episode, 5 out of 7 nights a week. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
so he's just a regular
It was
job.
a weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe it's a 40-hour a week at the cop station.
Oh, I
and
thought you were
then-
going to say
no,
Street
no.
Hawk was 40
And
hours.
then Street Hawk's
Man.
20, you know.
Yeah.
do
So
it.
he's
part-time
working
job.
a lot, but it is doable.
Right.
I don't think that he gets paid for Street Hawk. I think they get the
Labor of
technology
love.
and they get to play with it, and that's their little.
I bet you Norman's paid
Well, he doesn't do anything else
by
does
that
he?
Kirby guy. No, I think that's his whole life.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I mean, he doesn't do anything else for work or anything else, I don't think.
I
Probably
think it's
not.
just that. He stays there and does Street
he's
Hawk
got a
and nothing
passion.
else. Well, if Jesse's working that much, no wonder his sauce sucked.
Jesse departs his lair. He says, I'm going to go get answers. Meanwhile, Chin is meeting with his henchmen, and he decides what we'll do is we'll try to scare Joe out of hiding. And he says, henchmen, notify Chinatown's criminal underworld that I'll pay $5,000 for Lily's dead body.
This is like in Kenobi when all the bounty hunters got the message that Kenobi was on that planet where that dinosaur bounty hunter was chasing him. And so then everybody started chasing him.
Yeah, or John Wick, the assassin underworld. They all know things. They all have probably the same, I don't know, group chat. Jesse heads back to Auntie Pearl's to see Lily, immediately figuring out she's at the most likely place to be. Lily doesn't actually understand that. She says, how'd you guess I was here? Or, how do you guess I was here? She tells Jesse Joe was trying to get that idol out of Chinatown today. And the three of them, Jesse, Auntie Pearl, Lily, they all talk about the bounty that's been placed on Lily's head. And Jesse says, I better get you out of here now. Where to? Where do you think they would go? The beach. A place that is literally the most out in the open you could be. There's nowhere to hide.
At his house, I'm pretty sure, is where they're at. We've seen interior shots of him in his house where the beach is right
He's
there.
nearby the beach, so yeah, I bet you that's where they're going to be staying. Well, it is.
The Tong, surely they won't look at his house.
Yeah, like they don't know who he is by this point.
He's
Come on,
Street
Street
Hawk.
Hawk. Lily and Jesse gather around a beach fire and wipe their hands on each other's heads. Jesse makes a joke. We should go have dinner in Chinatown. Because that's, that would be the last thing they would want to do.
But it is a good suggestion for dinner.
Yeah,
Sure.
I agree.
If
Really
you
good.
maybe wear a costume.
A Street Hawk costume.
Yeah, so no one knows who you are.
Well, she wears a Street Hawk costume because that'd be different. He dresses up as Auntie
Pearl.
Pearl.
At some point during this, Lily reads Jesse's face, just like the old days, the lines in his face.
So this is a thing. This
She's
is a
telling
trope
his
thing.
future, yeah.
Because
Yeah,
I
it
don't
is.
know that I've ever heard reading the lines of face.
Nope.
I know hands like doing that, but she really is just cupping his head.
Yeah, just
looking away at
grabbing
him.
at it. And he intimates this is something they've done before.
It's a regular occurrence.
Face reading.
So she's groping, and this is where we find out Jesse's the best man that's ever existed. He's independent. He's a positive realist. He's responsible. He's a lot less selfish than he was when he was younger. But what's that? What's that in the corners of Jesse?
Not Street Hawk.
It is. It's a darkness, which has to be Street Hawk. I wish you would have been like, there's something in here that's cooler than the rest of you. Lily wants the whole truth, the Street Hawk truth. Jesse says it's too complicated. It's too cool. Jesse also says Auntie Pearl's half-truths catchphrase about Lily and him saying goodbye, saying we could never really say goodbye to each other. And there's a bunch of this, like old flame stuff as they sit on the beach in front of a fire. It's pretty goofy.
Bad bye.
Opposite day. They start to kiss, but Jesse, because he's the best man, says, no, we shouldn't go any further. But Lily urges him on. It's a total The Room, isn't it? In a way, except
Yeah.
for, Joe and Jesse aren't friends, but, it's kind of the same thing.
But we literally just watch her cheat on her fiance with Jesse.
Yeah.
And these are the good guys. This was a weird framework for the episode in that sense, because typically when shows will do this, that means you're not going to root for them anymore. But they treat this like this is the positive. This is a
They
good
do.
thing.
The tone is wrong. If the tone was correct for it, I actually like it.
Sure.
Like that Jesse's a slime bag. And he's like, whatever, man.
Instead, it's their love is so powerful.
Yeah,
that
that's how we're supposed
we
to
just-
read it.
They know it's wrong. They shouldn't do this to Joe.
If you love enough, it's okay to cheat.
Yeah.
Instead of just being like, maybe tell Joe, break that off. And then you can Street Hawk in the sand.
Jesse Mach in the streets, Street Hawk in the sheets.
He goes fast, 300 miles an hour in there.
I'm saying there's a motorcycle in my bed.
And it has a lot of explosive buttons. They go on and on, though, more and more about how they miss each other, and then all of a sudden, But What About Me by Moving Pictures begins to play for the first time. It's a big, sappy ballad. It's the most 80s thing you could just imagine.
This is a real song?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
And then the two of them, they have sex with each other. It really seems like it anyway.
Oh, I think they do.
That's the implication.
Yeah, I believe that.
You know why? Because the next morning, Jesse doesn't have a shirt on and Lily's in a robe, and they're at Jesse's apartment or house or shack.
Yeah, I mean, they're standing in front of his pelican statue. Did you guys see
No.
this? He is like a stone pelican statue, like a 3-foot tall statue in his living
It's
room.
another bird.
Shit, it is a bird. Street pelican. It can fit a big fish in its
Actually,
fucking
that
mouth.
is a worse name. Yeah. I don't think it's particularly fast, and it's kind of awkward looking.
How do pelicans survive this long? Like, what benefit do they have over any other bird? They have a big gull.
Well, yeah, they
thing?
got so much room. They can shove like 100 fish in there at once, and
Yeah.
they're good for a while.
I've also definitely seen a pelican eat a pigeon live,
That's true.
and it's
but
horrible.
They could probably fit in really anything in that beak.
So if it were a street pelican, his powers would be he could eat more sauce, so he would know if there's enough oregano.
He might be able to get kind of smaller sea things stuck to him, also. That might be another power he has.
Like a shell
Get salt in his feathers.
covered in oil. They have to use like dish soap.
Oh,
to
now
get
it's
it off
getting
of them.
sad.
It's him though.
Oh, okay.
I don't want that to happen to ducks or
Yeah.
whatever, but
But Street Pelican, fuck that guy.
At the end of this, we can do our own PSA for the EPA.
Oh, and Jesse Mach he's shirtless here. The pointiest collarbones I've ever seen in my life.
He's
They're
worked on
very
that.
like jagged, pointy.
And he's been
collarbones.
sharpening them.
Got to match his
Good.
nose.
Okay, yeah.
Jesse, still shirtless, he says, Lily, I just want us to be happy. I want us to be together. And she says, well, there is the thing where Joe has the almighty Ivory Emperor, and that we need to get that back to China. Lily then gets an idea. She says, hey, Jesse, can't the U.S. government get Joe a new identity and send him back to China, and I can sort of ditch him and stay here with you? It's good for everybody, right? We all have the same goals. We just want the Ivory Emperor in China. We want to clear out from this whole Joe thing. Even though he's a really good guy, we'd rather not, I don't know, tell him that we're breaking up directly.
Might as well just pretend it's not happening when we're around him.
Yeah, and you know what, Jesse, while we're at it, let's have the feds lie and say that they're also arranging me safe passage, but they're not. I'm going to stay here with you. But after this, the lies are over. No more half-truths. Next thing you know, Jesse's having a different sort of romance, perhaps a bromance, because he's having lunch on the pier with Norm, and they're overlooking the ocean. They go over their plans. Norm laments that I don't ever get to see anymore, Jesse.
We've grown apart.
Yeah, when are you going to come to the lair more? You used to be in the lair all the time looking over photos with me and papers.
I feel like, Spencer, you probably should have gotten pretty excited at this meal because it's breakfast. Did you see what all they had?
No, I'm excited now.
Well, Norman has just a big grapefruit that's been chunked
I don't
up.
like that kind of breakfast.
But then they also have milk. There's a glass of milk there. And a glass of water. There's 2 glasses there.
Got the beverages covered.
Then they got a glass of orange juice. So there's 3 beverages there. But wait, they're also having coffee. There are 4 beverages for each of them. There are 8 glasses on this
Real
table.
drink buffet.
It is absurd. And then like a grapefruit and I think a muffin for Street Hawk
What about
Boy.
the sauce? They get the sauce in there for
Yeah, how much
breakfast?
oregano is in the muffin?
Oh, this milk needs more oregano.
Jesse changes the topic of conversation, though. He says, Lily left me because of how dangerous my life is. And he's a cop, and she doesn't even know what's happening now. And then he throws Norman a real curveball.
What do you think she's gonna do if I tell her I'm Street Hawk?
Jesse, you can't tell her that. You can't tell anybody that you're Street Hawk.
Yeah, Jesse, what the fuck? I also, by the way, I am a sucker. Basically, anytime Street Hawk is said, like it's a common thing to say in
With
this show.
a straight face.
It's so funny to see these actors like, Jesse, you can tell anyone about Street Hawk. Any superhero does face this dilemma. Do I reveal my identity or not? Jesse then says, well, you're probably right, Norman, so I quit. I'm done. I'm done being Street Hawk. Yep, that's it for me. Me and Lele forever.
And Norman says, Jesse, you can't quit. So Jesse's response is, yeah, well, anybody can do anything.
It's so great. It sounds like a little kid trying to come up with I know you are, but what am I?
It's
Anybody can do
also like,
anything.
it makes it a, like inspirational twist to quitting or something. Like, dude, if you want to, you can quit. You can believe in yourself and just stop doing a thing.
Jesse says, I gotta settle down, man. I swore if I ever got a second chance with Lily, I'd make it work. Norman says, well, what if instead you tell more lies to get me some more time to figure this out?
This is the scene where Norman kind of looks bad. He's like, what if you just totally lied to everyone and kept doing it?
He doesn't want to lose his best friend. That's the problem. But there is no time because the boat to China arrives tonight. I think we should go back to the beach. Jesse and Lily are walking on it again to discuss the whole plan for tonight at the pier. Pier 31, to be specific. The feds are going to get the magic statue. Joe's getting deported back to China. Lily and Jesse get to be in love forever. That's the game plan here. The whole time, by the way, that Jesse and Lily are talking about this on the beach, and they're very close with one another. Joe's just hanging out in the car, waiting.
Just watching them walk around and talk.
There's no visual embodiment of Joe's character more than him, like, in the car watching his fiance be in love with someone else.
He looks kind of like a puppy that the owner went into the store for a little bit, and the puppy's like sad that it's never coming back.
Poor Joe Ching. And we have seen zero bad things about Joe, really. He seems like a good guy.
He stole
even-
from the
I was
tongs.
going to say, even his theft idea had good intentions.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit overzealous in saying, hey, girlfriend, we're going back to China. But everything else, I do get. With Joe still in the car, Jesse says, I love you, very clearly about 10 feet away. And Lily heads back to the car. Joe can tell something is up. He apologizes. He says, I should never have gotten you wrapped up in this, Lily, this whole Tong statue thing. I'm going to make this up to you. And Lily says, Joe, I've got to tell you something. Nope, she doesn't say that at all. She doesn't say shit. Back to the police department. Leo wants to send Jesse back to Chinatown because he has no idea what's going on now. No one will go. And Rachel says, look, Jesse, you should want to go. You have knowledge of the area. Leo says a Tong War's brewing and Street Hawk's involved.
Jesse, ain't you Street Hawk?
I just love that Leo really wants to send Jesse, a famously desk-bound cop, out to deal with Street Hawk, a famously undefeatable monster robot.
It's mobile, and he has a bad leg. So this is his injured cop that he immediately thinks, oh, you'll take care of everything.
Yeah, this will be fine. Jesse tries to wiggle out of it and says, but I got plans, which is not a good excuse. So vague. Leo shuts that down, and Rachel jokes about psychic perjury or something. Who knows? It's stupid. On the way out, Jesse, who should he run into but Auntie Pearl, because the show can only be so long. Auntie Pearl says she was afraid to call the station itself because what if it was intercepted? The Tong are that powerful. And word is out on the street. Lily and Joe's deal with the feds. Everybody knows about it. The Tong are going to be there. They're going to strike Pier 31.
You know, they don't reveal how everyone knows about this. Do you think there's a mole?
Maybe so. Maybe it's Auntie Pearl. Somehow.
I wish. You know what they do, too, after they strike down Pier 31? Is they go after Pier 1 imports. That
Good.
business needs to go.
Is it still around?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I think they went out like a while ago, didn't
What
they?
did you even buy there? It was just stuff, right?
I think they lost the Great Battle of Kirklands of 1999.
Yeah, there you could go and get a lamp for $500 instead of like $50 anywhere else.
Oh, that's a pretty good deal.
It's imported.
I bet it really is, too. I mean, it says it. Pier 1 imports.
How much do you think an emperor something like the little statue from this episode? How much do you think Pier 1's going to sell that
Well, if
thing
it's
for?
imported, it's got to be more than the $500,000
Yeah.
they're going to get from the other one.
They're going to mark that up to about $800-900K.
I think they triple it.
No
100
wonder
1.5.
Joe stole that shit. That's too expensive.
Jesse shows back up at the Street Hawk lair, and now Norman's really upbeat. Jesse's back where he belongs, guys. And Jesse wants to do Street Hawk again. He says, I got to do this one more time, Norman. One more time to save Lily. But Norman reminds him, Jesse, there is no one more time. Not when it comes to Street Hawk. Street Hawk's a goddamn responsibility, and if you put the armor on one more time, you're bonded for life, Jesse.
I really appreciate how the show is doing its best, David Hasselhoff, where it buys into itself
Yeah.
so much that it's just saying super seriously all this shit about Street Hawk.
Yeah, the sheer earnestness of it. And I honestly would say That's really no different than Batman, as Spencer has been doing this comparison a lot of like the over-earnestness about something that, let's be serious, it's stupid. It's a man in a costume who needs psychological help and is hurting people.
So this scene too, though, where he gives him a big old speech about how if you do it now, you know you need to do it forever, has a little bit of the weight of Casablanca. And just a little bit there. You know,
yeah.
It's like, if you don't do this thing, you'll regret it now and for the rest of your life.
This is one of those moments in your life where you can't turn back from it.
Yeah.
It's a pivotal decision.
You're either going to get on that plane or you're not.
You're either going to be a motorcycle or not.
But the thing is, Jesse makes the right call. He understands the true duty and power of Street Hawk. And because of that, the layer gates part once more. The synths blare once more, and out comes Street Hawk. He's flying down to Pier 31. And we find out in here through Norman that the feds are down with this whole thing. The feds have said, oh, Street Hawk's doing this? Well, we'll back off then, so there's no more confusion like last time. Send the one guy in his motorcycle down to Pier 31. All of our agents will just not bother.
Well, you do have to reimburse us for the car that you shot with your, machine gun, though.
We'll bill Norman for it. Norman hits hyperthrust, and whoa, Street Hawk gets faster, but not fast enough, probably.
Yeah, I think this is the one where it got up to like 205.
The fastest we saw it get. In R2.
I don't believe it really can hit 300. I think that's false advertising.
I don't know anyone who has one either, so to test it.
No, the Street Hawk I saw was a real piece of shit.
I think in the finale, well, I don't know if they knew they were getting another season or not, or they knew it was done. I think in the finale, though, they would have had it reach top speed.
They should.
To prove
You know what?
Street Hawk can do it.
If they did get, if they got to run for 4 or 5 years, that would have been a great final scene, is just on the 300 on the speedometer.
And
he has to drive to save Norman, and he hits it, and they freeze frame on that. Oh, man.
End of episode, end of series.
I think we like the idea quite a bit of these episodes ending on freeze frames for whatever the reason.
Well, they do end on freeze frames. They're just not cool ones. They're just of Jesse's face. It's nighttime now. Lily and Joe have arrived at Pier 31 ahead of this whole deal that they're going to make with the Tong and with Street Hawk, apparently. They walk around because guess what's here? More fog, because it's the 80s. Chain link fences. There's some rags draped on them. And I like this, too. 80s goon pier scene where you know there's going to be a big fight or something. Lily notices there's an escape boat, but there's no one there to drive the thing.
The skateboat is a really cool term.
Yeah, that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
It sounds like a thing everyone needs. You got to get your escape boat.
Right then, several of Chin's men, those thugs from earlier, they pop up like little meerkats from behind some of those boat barrels. You know, there's just barrels around the water.
There's just stuff around.
Yeah. Because, again, the 80s.
Well, you got to put oranges in them or something.
I was
don't know.
thinking seasonings, like oregano.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
in
yeah.
those barrels.
Maybe some star anise.
Chin himself even pops up. So all of these members of the Tong Syndicate are here now, and Lily and Joe are trapped. It kind of seems like a dumb idea to call the federal agents off of this case just for Street Hawk, I would say. Chin starts yelling at Joe, give me the statue, give me the cool box it comes in, and Joe says, fine, you can have that, you can have me, just let Lily go.
Aw.
Chin barks a few orders, though, and his men start to swarm. Joe shows off that he's more than just a pretty face. He's more than just a thief. He also has cool kicks.
Why do you wait to reveal this
I
whole
know.
time?
See, just once I thought we might see Asian people in an 80s thing and they don't know karate. But of course, 41 minutes into this thing, they finally are like, nope, we got Asian people. We got to make them kick.
Even Auntie Pearl's doing backflips behind this scene,
Somersaults.
too. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Judo chokes. Eventually, though, I think it's Chin shoots Joe or something. It's really hard to tell what's going on here.
Yeah,
from
I wasn't
really
sure.
close range. The aftermath is, though, Lily gets the box with the statue in it, and Street Hawk comes zooming up right now after the damage is already done. And a lot of bad guys start shooting at Street Hawk. Does it work? No, it can't. There's no defeating Street Hawk. He uses his guns that come out of his motorcycle. He hits the exploder button. He sends villains into a bunch of drums and crates. Some of them go into the sea. Some of them go into the boat, I think.
Do you think some people die? I don't know if people get hit here.
This scene, I think some people have to have died.
But do we see it?
No.
Because it looks like he goes and shoots barrels and then they jump in the water.
But I mean, some of them look like really big explosions.
They were the friendly kind.
Yeah, friendly
concussive.
I will say a couple of them do escape in a boat, too. A little bit. Until Street Hawk hits the grenade lob button on his motorcycle and blows up the entire boat. And those guys are dead, right?
Yeah, they have to be.
I still think it just knocks him unconscious. It's a gas explosion.
While I was watching this scene, I just was chanting to myself, please shoot the boat with a missile launcher. Please shoot the boat with a missile launcher. And then, boom, they do it.
And he does. And I think it is the bike's coolest power that we see.
Yeah, the baby missile.
Now that I guess dozens of villains are injured or dead, there are no federal government agents here. Lily hands Street Hawk the box with a statue in it. But she says, hey, Jesse. She knows. She knows that Street Hawk and Jesse are the same. She could tell without the helmet coming off, but the helmet comes off anyway. And Jesse urges the trade. Joe's getaway package for the idol. That's the government's trade. And Lily says, I get it now. Street Hawk's a big deal.
She's correct.
This isn't like regular police stuff. Like, this is being Street Hawk. You're right. I don't need to be with you anymore. It's cool that you're going to be Street Hawk. I wouldn't want to get in the way of your work. I'll settle for second place. I'll just be with Joe. Who gives a shit?
Poor Joe, and he doesn't even know any of that happened.
No, he's been shot.
Yeah, he's just
Maybe.
bleeding. No, he's been shot in the shoulder. He's bleeding on the boat because they pan over to him a few times and he's like wheezing,
No,
trying
I
to catch
didn't
his
even
breath.
notice that.
Yeah, it's absurd.
It's so great how poor Joe is treated in this episode. Like, he's over there bleeding out, and Lily's like, I guess I'll just be with Joe.
Hang on, Joe.
If he lives.
We'll get you some attention soon, but first I need to talk to Street Hawk for a while about how we love each other.
And we've got a long boat ride to China. I guess I can just dump him overboard if he passes.
I really like the idea that they're going to China in that little boat, which I guess they might be, but
I thought you were supposed to
guess
just dig
so.
straight down to get to China.
yeah, you dig a hole.
Yeah.
Long enough hole, you'll get there.
Jesse, bitter as it may be, says, I've got to go. I can't bear to walk away again or zoom away on Street Hawk. Lily says, well, you know what? Auntie Pearl actually told me if you've got a heart connection with somebody, it's there forever. So this isn't even that big of a deal. So again, with bleeding Joe on a boat 5 feet away, Jesse and Lily share one final deep kiss.
With that song playing
Yeah,
again.
and What About Me starts playing again. And what about me? I wondered.
I think I heard a little slurping in their kiss, too.
Yeah, there was tongue getting in there. Jesse and Lily then share a longing glance, one final longing glance, before Lily and Joe sail off into the night for China, or in Joe's case, possibly for heaven.
The boat they leave on, because you know you name boats, right?
Yeah,
It's called the Real Deal,
Oh.
R-E-E-L. Like
that's
fish.
awesome. I'm glad you noticed that. I
Mhm.
didn't see that. Well, this Street Hawk episode wouldn't be complete without a final trip to the beach. So let's go there one more time. Jesse and Norman, they're having a really good time. They're running on the beach. Jesse's leaving Norman in the dust, though, because he's ripped, and Norman is Frank from Murphy Brown, so not that fast. Norman says he needs a rest, so to show off, Jesse plops in the ground and writhes around in what it looks like some kind of exercise.
He really does writhe. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And like, I guess if you've been running for that long, you're not supposed to just stop, which is correct. You're supposed to slowly wind down. And I think that's what he's doing, or having a seizure.
Well, Norman does say that. He says, that's not a proper cool-down technique. I would know. Norman's really trying to console Jesse during this run, too, because he knows he just lost Lily. She went off on a boat with a man that may be dead and she doesn't care about to let you be Street Hawk. Every man's worst nightmare. So, at his worst, he pleads. He tries to say something that could help Jesse.
You wanna call one of your friends or something? Don't you get it, Norman? You are my friend.
I love that so much.
I love the whole thing in there.
The overpowering synth. Jesse smiles. We do get a freeze frame. We end the episode with warmed hearts, I think, and that's it for us talking about Street Hawk. Before we talk about the series, which is one season, I'd like to talk about this episode. Was this about the bond between Jesse and Lily? Between Jesse and Street Hawk? Or between Jesse and Norman?
I can tell you what it wasn't about was the bond between Lily and Joe.
No, not at all. Possibly even Norman and Street Hawk.
It was a series of things, and you know, the more I think about it, it's a little deeper than I gave it credit for in the beginning, but also not as good of an episode as the last one.
Well, here's the thing that actually it's normally Brian who points this out, so I'm sure you felt this way about your own show that you spent more time thinking about than the others, is that when you have a thing that you should or shouldn't take on in a show, it's not going to quite work, this whole Lily theme for
No.
what Street Hawk is.
It's not like it's good, but I am a sucker for the whole thing with Jesse and Norman, though.
Sure.
About, like,
That's fine.
they have this close working relationship, and I buy that, like, at this point, they're starting to realize, oh, shit, we like each other. Like, we like being around each other. And that is part why Norman's weird about Jesse not wanting to street hawk as much. You know, he just wants to be pals. They need to make separate time to hang out when they're not street hawking.
Go out to the bar,
Yeah.
have some non-street hawk drinks. Maybe that miscellaneous button pours drinks.
It might. They need one that does. Maybe Street Hawk 2.0 will have that.
The buddy element it's a welcome addition to the show. I don't understand, though, why they wanted such a central love interest theme in a Street Hawk episode. It's an odd choice.
I watched another Street Hawk episode, the one with Dennis Franz in it, and there's another serious love interest that tries to get developed in that, too. So I think every
Jesse?
episode, yeah.
How many could he possibly have?
Well, he's 3 for 3 on the ones I've seen.
I guess he's just horny, so they put that in every episode. Was it like a previous love interest or a new one?
No,
in
it's
that
a
one?
new one, and boy, is the story in that great. It's this woman who turns out to have had plastic surgery to remodel her face different because she's a terrorist.
That sounds awesome.
So
Yeah,
does he like her
it's great.
before or with the surgery?
Well, he never knew her before.
Okay.
And the reason she had the surgery is so Dennis Franz couldn't recognize her. Van, what do you think about Street Hawk?
To be honest, I mean, I loved it, but I was a little disappointed
Mhm.
because it didn't have as much of the goofy, weird stuff that I hoped for. Because when you hear cop gets hurt, becomes vigilante motorcyclist with a magical bike which goes fast and has guns, you think this is going to be fucking awesome. And it was pretty awesome. There were moments of fucking awesome, but a lot of it was wasted in the love story. I say wasted. A lot of it was, trying to build relationship ideas and concepts that I don't think needed to be there. Then this needed to be an action show.
Yeah.
And I think it stray from that decision occasionally.
Similarly, I think it could have benefited from having a more cheeseball tone all around. Like you said, Spencer, like there's no need to be trying to make us think about anyone's love of their life in Street Hawk.
No.
And, yeah.
Don't even try to tackle that. And I was thinking the whole time, it's like, I don't want to compare it to, although it's impossible not to Knight Rider, but even Knight Rider, for as much as we all enjoyed that, we didn't like it for what the show actually was as much as the goofy characters in the episodes we watched that took over, like Carr and even Barth. Things like that were what elevated Knight Rider for us. Not so much, oh, it's so cool how stupid this concept of a talking car is or whatever. We didn't even really care that much about that. So this show doesn't even have those memorable characters. As much as I like Norman, it doesn't really have even that going for it. And it is a recycled version of Knight Rider otherwise. A worse version of Knight Rider.
And I think that's kind of the disappointing element is that there wasn't anything that stood out a whole lot. It felt like an 80s show of this ilk largely. I like elements of it. I love that they say Street Hawk out loud a bunch. The soundtrack is cool.
The serious nature of it taking itself, but even comparing it to Knight Rider, Hasselhoff was the king of that. His just belief that Carr was the end of humanity was so good. And they did a little of that with, Street Hawk being taken so seriously, but they didn't do it enough. There wasn't enough goofy stuff. There wasn't enough action. I think there needed to be 30% more Street Hawk.
It could have used
It'd been
more
better.
Street Hawk. Maybe some of the other episodes have more Street Hawk.
This episode we just covered, you get halfway in before you get Street
Yeah.
Hawk.
So do you guys think maybe it would have found its footing if it would have gotten a little more time? If it would have gotten a few more seasons of airtime?
Yeah, maybe like the first couple seasons are rough, but by the time you get to season 7 of Street Hawk, holy shit, it kicks into
Season
gear.
7.
By season 9, it was considered one of the finest prestige dramas on television. So I think that's all we need to really say about Street Hawk.
It didn't have much of potential to be more than what it was. And
No.
I think it fell a little short of its potential.
I
what
do
could
too.
have been.
I was hoping for a little more electric of a ride, but it's not like it's not like these episodes were without those moments.
Yeah, it was there.
We certainly did have them, but it is tough to compare it to Knight Rider and say it held up in terms of the watchability scale, because that show just had so much, as you said, Spencer, so much notable about it that didn't make sense to be notable.
There is an element of something competent in here, and it sneaks in sometimes. And I did notice that with the show, that here and there they hit the mark.
Yeah.
So who knows? It could be. You've seen a few others, right?
One other
Oh,
full
just one, okay.
and the documentary.
Do you think there are some other highlights that we didn't get to see, perhaps?
The one that I saw with the whole plastic surgery disguise thing had a super convoluted plot. And I did notice that about the two we covered as well, as they tried to get a lot of stuff, a lot of moving parts going on in each plot, and they don't really succeed at it. But again, there's some ambition there.
You can see how it tried to do almost a Mission Impossible light thing.
Yeah.
Setting up not capers, but something like a caper. We've got this statue. We've got these crime bosses. You could see maybe a mystery coming out of this, but it never really actually does that.
No, and again, that's something that could have been fleshed out more if we don't have the shoehorned in love story.
Yeah.
I wonder if they thought that even though it was a derivative show, that they could figure out a way to make it stand out, and it didn't happen. Like, I wonder if they thought they could take it in a direction where they would have their signature moments, and it would be like, this isn't so much Knight Rider or Mission Impossible, but a Street Hawk thing.
Which
And it
the
just
name
didn't
is
happen.
cooler. They did do that. That
I
was
do
about
like
it, though.
I do like a good Street Hawk.
What else do you like? Like, what other shows would you want to talk about, Spencer?
Well, it's difficult to follow up a show like this because this is batshit. I thought it had been a while, and I know I'm probably the most likely candidate to do this, so I'm going to do it while I can. I'm going to take us back a little bit again. We're going to do another early era TV show.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
These are fun.
Well, they can be. We are going to tackle a genre we have not touched, which is Western,
Ooh.
and we're going very old. Do you guys have any
we
guesses?
watched Hey Dude.
Okay, that's as close as we got so far. We're going authentic Western, old, black and white. You guys have any early guesses before I get into the actual?
Hee Haw.
The Rifleman.
Are those real?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't heard of those. No, it's neither one of those. I'll give you one more hint. And I didn't know he was in this, but we recently were talking about Clint Eastwood and his weird voice. And I was thinking it would be super nice if we could talk about Clint Eastwood in a TV show, but I didn't think he
The
did.
Lone Ranger?
No, I didn't think he did TV shows, but he did before he got big and became an action star or whatever happened with that. I don't know much about the show or Clint Eastwood, but we will soon.
$1 Million Baby.
Yes, the show $1 Million Baby in the 50s. No, actually, this is
50s? How fucking old is he?
this.
I guess old.
I don't know if it was 50s. I don't know anything about the show yet, but
Okay,
it's
fair.
Rawhide that we're doing.
Oh, okay.
Rawhide.
I don't know
the
anything
song.
about that.
I didn't think any of us would because we don't know old westerns. This is going to be a new thing for us.
Maybe we're going to fall in love, and then we'll know all of the old westerns.
So I'm actually thinking it's probably 60s, but I'll have dates and all that information when we actually do the episodes. I found 2, and these are considered some of the best episodes of Rawhide because I don't know anything else but just to look up what people say are the best ones. So we're going on the internet's word here. First one is season 4, episode 20. It did run, I think, for 8 seasons or something. And it's called Grandma's Money.
Well, Spencer's hosting if there's a
Grandma.
grandma-centric
And
episode.
the next one's going to be a Halloween episode. So the synopsis here, and this is not professionally written. Rowdy, who is Clint Eastwood, by the way, that's his
Rowdy.
character. Wishbone and Clay deliver 300 head of cattle to Agie's ranch, but Agie isn't there. It sounds so boring.
AG?
Agee.
Like Kevin
Like
Agee,
Kevin
Agee,
childhood
okay.
friend Kevin Agee.
He's off on his honeymoon, and Rowdy decides to ride out and try to find him. Again, this sounds very boring. They went to deliver cattle. The guy's not there, so they go and find him.
We do sort of know that about television of the era, though, that the excitement bar was far lower.
Yeah, because every episode just had to be about, oh, this plate broke. Like, that was the most exciting
Well, it was
thing.
a big deal to see televised air.
The last sentence here is why it's called Grandma's Money, I guess. On the way, he meets a little old grandma. So Clint Eastwood meets a grandma in Grandma's Money of season 4, episode 20, Rawhide.
Do you think he kills her and steals her money?
I hope so. This next one made me laugh when I read the synopsis.
Yeah, I came in from the bathroom and you were giggling about it.
The other one I'm choosing is also season 4, and this is episode 26. So we're getting them almost right on top of the other
Getting
one.
a real glimpse into Rawhide at that time and place.
And by the way,
Golden
these
era.
actually, I did miss this. They have the air dates, and this was 1962. So
Okay.
we know what the setting here. So this one is called Reunion. Pete's friend, Greyhawk's son, Wild Horse, has escaped and is raiding. General Perry is bringing 500 head of cattle for the Indians.
God, what?
Pete is leading Lieutenant Matthew Perry to his father.
No, no.
That's why I
What
laughed.
is this?
Because Chandler's in this in a
Man, this
roundabout way.
sounds like it is friends and not very racially sensitive.
It sounds like it's friends where they all deliver cattle to each other. That's just the whole crux of it.
So much cattle delivery.
And everyone's name is like Wishbone and Hurdles.
Wish-
Except
Wishbone
for
Rowdy.
Matthew Perry.
The captain or Lieutenant Matthew Perry.
Oh, he's in the military in this sense. Okay.
All right, so we're covering Rawhide the next 2 weeks.
All right, I'm
We
excited.
absolutely are. But until we cover Rawhide, you should check out what we've done on YouTube. Van's been uploading our stuff on there. You should go to bootuinc.com. You should leave us a review, a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever. And if you do, there's something where we get a tattoo of
Or you
Caronta's
do.
head.
You
Or
can do it too.
or you yourself can get a tattoo of Street Hawk. It works any number of ways. But ultimately, I feel I should end this episode with the only thing I know about Rawhide, which is at some point in the theme song or something, it goes, Rawhide.